Paris Air Show is underway in France, and it has proven to be booming business for the industry as Germany, France, and Spain have inked a deal for the next-gen European fighter jets. But it doesn't stop there. This deal will also include a joint combat air system that involves drones and satellites. So joining us to discuss, former UK MP George Galloway. George, FCAS, for short, Future Combat Air Systems, is expected to be operational in just 20 years' time, 2040, according to the German defense minister. She said, quote, "We need to have a common European solution." Now, when she says European, she's merely referring to the 25 members of PESCO, of which the UK is not a member. What is your take on this, and how do you imagine Brexit impacting the future relations with the PESCO states?
Well, my first response is I'm glad we're not in it. We spend more than enough on weapons of war and mass destruction already. So I'm glad that we have opted out of that because we're leaving the European Union on the 31st of October, Boris Johnson said. My second response is, against whom is this defense force to be deployed? Who's going to invade 25 European countries? Who's going to invade Britain?
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire.
Nobody's going to invade us, and I'm not sure what these aeroplanes in 2040, when most of the statespeople involved in today's inking of the deal will already be dead. I'm not, of course, a nostalgist for NATO. I've fought against NATO all of my life. I believe that it's a totally unnecessary military war front against an imaginary enemy. But now we're going to have NATO and this European defense force.
Yeah.
That sounds like a recipe for duplication to me.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. So the audience understands 4/5 of the PESCO members are also NATO members. So, there's this huge overlap there, George. So, George, in your opinion, do you see this overlap? Does this cross-involvement, does this have any conflicts of interest, especially given that the U.S. is the dominant force in NATO?
Yeah, I mean, the US is NATO, and it's inconceivable that NATO would decide to attack someone that the United States disapproved of, and equally, it's impossible to imagine any attack on NATO that would not involve the resistance or opposition of the United States. So this is, therefore, another straw in the wind that we discussed yesterday. Another example of the extent to which the United States and its formerly very close allies in Europe are drifting apart, because it's precisely because the Europeans, for example, don't want to fight Iran, but know that the United States may very well want to fight Iran.
This is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Hither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Most High. Let the heathen be awakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
And the Europeans don't want to be a part of that. So if I was in the United States, I'd be concerned about this ever-growing breach, soon to be a chasm, if President Trump does attack Iran, as the Jerusalem Post reports this morning he intends to do, make a tactical, so-called tactical bombing run against an Iranian nuclear facility. If that happens, the balloon goes up, and we are in very, very serious troubled waters indeed.
Yeah.
Call Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahweh by Shem Rakakadas. Shalom.